That's a rocket.
The Eye in Big Trouble in Little Chinatown features adult themes, language, and situations. Discretion is advised. 以成人为主题，语言跟情况小心。
Crime may like to hide in the shadows, but it can never really hide from the eye.
Oh, hi there, friends. Sorry you caught me with my mouth full, but just like you, I can't resist the sweet goodness that is Twaddle Dandy. The candy treat that everybody loves to eat. Boys, girls, even the grown-ups can't wait to unwrap some of that pink joy. Today's sponsor is Squidbeak Communications subsidiary candy that keeps you smacking your lips and wanting more. Twaddle Dandy. That's some fine candy. And now, WK Nut proudly presents everyone's favorite mono-optic flatfoot, the Eye in Big Trouble in Little Chinatown.
I came to, like out of a fever dream, not remembering why I had been out of it, not remembering where I was, and not remembering why I couldn't remember. Out of the periphery of my vision, I caught the glimpse of a scaly red hand that packed a wallop, and like better men in my profession, I started to put the clues together. A fireplace, some nice furniture, books, a room built like a coffin. Long, and the feeling that somebody here should be dead. I was tied up. My gun still felt like it was in its holster. But like a married man doing time, I wasn't getting much comfort from that. 3 goons stood before me. The painting, the red hand, and the other one, who I could only assume was the one in charge. And when he turned from his ornate-looking desk, the way he looked at me told me for sure.
Why were you looking for me?
I think you have a misunderstanding of how this whole thing went down. Even though the big boss man surely wasn't over 6'3", he stood like he was a skyscraper. Beard like a well-tamed lion and hair like a well-fought king. I wouldn't say I was intimidated, but I wouldn't say I was looking forward to the conversation.
You are a police officer, correct?
That I am. Detective Victor Caine of the MNYPD. Baldy stared at me uninterested. The head honcho looked at me as if he knew half the answer, and the red-handed one reacted like my name meant something, which was neat.
And do you know who I am?
Telephone company? Behind on my bill? Not even a smile. Instead, he lifted his hand and... I hadn't been hit that hard since my first divorce. I stood up and tried to shake it off, realizing I was untied but on the other side of the room. I reached for my gun, and before it was in my grip, the red claw had me. He had moved like memory, was there before I could notice it, and brought me back somewhere I didn't want to be, in the midst of all 3 of them, pinned to the ground with his foot on the back of my neck.
I would advise you to answer his questions with a bit more honesty.
Note taken.
Your friends might find your humor amusing. I, however, do not. We are Yakuza. I am...
Susanoo. I could feel the pressure of the heel on my neck alleviate.
Now, we come to understand our understanding of one another. I know who you are. You know who I am. Why were you looking for me?
I wasn't looking for you. Not yet. I have questions for you. Questions that need to be answered. I'm going to stand up now, and maybe we'll be civil-like and go over some of those. I want to know why your hatchet men grabbed me.
I do not consider you to be in a position to make demands.
I was going to come looking for you on account of a dead girl. 21 years old, no organs, Chinese. Had a paper stapled to her that makes it seem like your little organization was involved. I haven't found any dirt on the doll yet. That makes me think she was an innocent. That makes me think I'm in the position to make any damn demand I want. You may think you can push a cop around, but I'm not some local jurisdiction buzzer carrier. I'm major case. Battle me, battle the entire force. You can't win that. Now. Why the hell did you pick me up?
Mirai, kyodai, kare wo misete kudasai.
And like he was getting ready for his yearly checkup, the inked-up man with the most tattoos I'd ever seen in my life unbuttoned his shirt to reveal even more.
Brother Mirai has a unique gift.
What the big guy revealed was a tattoo of me outside of Miss Crosstalk's apartment where they had ambushed me. But it was changing. In fact, all of his tattoos were changing. For the first time, I noticed the ink on his skin was more like a river, in constant flowing motion. What once was a depiction of my abduction was now a still life of the four of us in this same damn room.
I sent Brother Mirai and Brother Akateko, for fate meant us to convene.
I don't believe in destinies.
That does not prevent them from believing in you.
The girl?
The girl?
Did you kill a girl in Chinatown?
This girl? Or any girl? Mate.
I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how many Ginzu-carrying cronies you got. I don't like being kidnapped. I don't like people putting their hands on me. And I don't like people crusting my Vicks. Did you kill the girl?
No. Now, Detective, am I being considered as a suspect? Or will you release me from suspicion?
And they didn't either.
I did not kill some busaigo, Mendoko.
The illustrated man shook his head no. The Yakuza were killers, but they were supposed to be honor-bound. If they gave me their word. What about Chinatown? Are you making a move?
A move on Chinatown?
That's what I'm asking about.
The boundary has been respected for a generation.
And your issues with the triads?
Our wars are over routes, not homes, not neighborhoods.
Don't leave a doubt in my mind. Doubts tend to stick there and bring me back around.
The Yakuza are not making a move on Chinatown, Detective.
Fine.
We are the clan of the Oni. Our symbol is the face of the demon. If we have committed an action, we take responsibility for said action. It is the honorable way.
I said, fine. I turned to leave. I'd gotten myself worked up and gotten a few answers in the process. But I knew I was still in the enemy's territory. And to be more precise, I had no idea exactly where I was. I just knew it was best to leave while everyone was still in one piece. If you want to talk to me, I have office hours. And if you're lying to me, I'll come back. I don't care what your Etch-a-Sketch destiny says. You won't be happy if I come back.
Detective, I respect your passion. Your tenacity earns you that. But a parting word of wisdom from one person of conviction to another: never threaten a man as you walk from a room.
Even the eye would find it difficult to watch his back. Sarumoki kara ochiro ne, Detective-san.
It took me 2.5 hours to walk home from Little Tokyo. Tried hailing a cab a few times, but a Cyclops might as well be a human in that part of town. I called the precinct and had someone go pick up my car from Miss Liza Little's building and take it back to the station. And then I hit the hay like I didn't want it to hit me back. Sleep did me some good. It's always been a way to process things for me. Ma would always tell me when I was little that in dreams, we got answers. Sleep on your problems and you'll wake up with solutions. Pop would always tell me not to listen to the crazy squat she spewed. He was a K-baller, a mechanic. He'd take parts from messed up cars, clean them up, put them on less messed up cars. Use whatever you can. I guess I ended up listening to both of them.
He can take a frown and turn it upside down. Sometimes he wears women's gowns. Bumper, 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 we're so glad that he's here. Bumper, 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 I present Mr. Stephen King.
Ladies and gentlemen in Radio Land, we're so glad that you're here. And now, it's time for the one and only Mr. Stephen K. Greer! Thank you very much. To our audience here in the studio and out there listening in living rooms and studios all across the country. We have a great show for you tonight. Best in monsterdom, I'd say. Cobble popping champion Cameron Leonard is here. Impressionist, and you're going to love this school. Deb McFadden is with us tonight. Funny stuff. And night 2 of our 5-night engagement with the author whose book is on everyone's night.
Greer was a funny man I'd turn on sometimes to help me loosen up. Hot shower, some Kentucky tavern, and a couple of chuckles would normally set me straight. But my mind was all in knots. The Yakuza said they weren't involved, but there was the note stapled to the China doll. Was it the Triads? If so, why her? Why a farm girl? She worked for Manchu, so maybe it was the Hoppers. Or maybe Daifu didn't tell me everything. Maybe he didn't know everything. There's a lot of problems when it comes to chasing down leads. You take weird turns, you run out of gas, and you wind up not knowing where you are. But you gotta start somewhere. The walk to the precinct was a short one that I had done many times before. Only a few blocks, but walking through the city reminded you what the city was. A living, breathing, screaming, crying, laughing organism. Every dead body, every missing persons, every unsolved crime, an ulcer in its belly, an infection, a thorn. Our job, my job, was to be the doctor for the sidewalks and walk-ups, for the skyscrapers and slums. It was my job to get to the bottom of this, to pull out that thorn. I took a left on Park Row, the precinct just in sight, and my eye caught a glimpse of my car. Standing in front of it was Officer Druitt, and a sight with no eyes.
Detective Caine, this crazy dame says she's supposed to meet you here. She says she knows you. That true?
Partially. I'll take it from here, Druitt.
You got it, sir. I'll be inside if you need anything.
For a brief moment on my morning walk, I wondered if I had dreamed her. The half-faced beauty that couldn't give you a straight answer had been a curveball for me. I wondered if she was a hallucination caused by too much work, too much drink, or too many fights and nights on the job. But here she was, standing in front of me. Same mesmerizing, mysterious presence. Same bob haircut, new dress, but with the same effect. She looked pale somehow, a little razzled, and a little embarrassed. Miss me already?
I am here strictly for business.
You all right? Sleepless night?
I decided I would help you since you seemed so helpless. I could not reach you, so I went to the Panlong offices. Official police business.
Panlong, the subsidiary company of Dr. Fu Manchu that handles the docks.
There, I met a beautiful young woman who I asked several questions of. I asked her about the farm girl, and with the vaguest recollection, she told me of the hiring process, and that the girl had been a good employee. Of her own volition, she brought up the Japanese. Her lovely words about the Yakuza were comforting as she described burglaries, harassment, and I remember everything else.
With that last little chorus, her voice sounded strange, far away. She repeated it.
I remember everything else.
She seemed a little frightened, a little more confused. Maybe this was why she was so pale. Like a good little copper, she had gone and sniffed around some leads. But what happened, and why was she so spooked? Some woman told her that John was a good employee and that the Yakuza had been causing some problems in Chinatown. This didn't jive with what my leads had told me, but what part of her story was a lie and what part wasn't? Was she lying, the woman lying, or Susanoo lying? I could sort all of that out momentarily, but for now, she was looking like an Italian monument, leaning every which way. Get in the car.
Shall I take you to another crime scene?
No, sister. I'm taking you out for breakfast. Jiao's tea house was a sophisticated place to gather information, but not everybody could afford the ginseng. The people that couldn't, and in particular those that worked at the docks, they went to Xiang Qian's diner, a small little place with a jovial owner. Always had a wink in his eye and a laugh in his smile. The cook and the proprietor, this headless entrepreneur, had his face in his stomach. But then again, what man didn't?
Order up!
Tian,
Ni hao! Look at this! This dead Hoofa gumshoe come to my restaurant looking for handouts. Doris, you looking? See this man?
Oh, I see him. Hey, Vic.
Doris,
He want free dumplings. That's all he comes for. With his grimy hands stuck out, 'cause no other restaurant let him in. I do this charity work. You know what I mean?
hey, I gotta eat somehow.
How you doing, Vic? You want the dumplings? Pork? Shrimp?
I gave her the rave reviews of the pork, so I hope they live up to expectation.
Oh, you brought beautiful lady. Look at this. Joe, bringing a hot date, not telling me about it. I got dumplings just finished up right now. You gotta love the dumplings, miss. Best dumplings in Monster Dome. Here you go. Best dumplings. Best in Monster Dome. You put a little of the ginger with vinegar on them. You eat them. You're gonna be saying to me, meet me, kid. You know? Best dumplings in Monster Dome. He'd take you to a good place for your hot date.
I think you might be reading the temperature wrong. I'm here for some information about a girl.
Why would you need information about a girl? You got girl right here, knucklehead man.
I'm looking for the lowdown on the dead China doll they found last night. What do you know about her?
I don't know nothing about no dead girls. You work too hard. Nuts! You're working too hard. Focus on your hot date. Eat your dumplings. She liked them. I don't know nothing about dead girl. I don't want trouble. He's always about trouble. You should get him to tell you about the time he took me to Atlantic City for my birthday. I turned 412 and he got me
Maybe story time can wait for later.
Perhaps later the story will lose its appeal.
Though I was a fan of Tien's company and the food at his joint, he wasn't the one you got information from. That'd be Doris. Doris? She was something else. Just short of 18 and with the eyes of a bird, she had a mind like a steel trap. Like a compulsive librarian giving the lowdown on a stack of books, nothing was ever lost and everything was well organized. If Doris had seen something, she'd remember it. Always. It took me a brief moment to catch her attention, and with a simple nod, she knew what I wanted.
What do you want?
This girl. Tell me what you know about her.
I've never seen her before.
Never? She's never come in here.
Not while I was on shift.
She worked at the docks.
I've never seen her at the docks. Everybody that works there comes through here. Best dumplings in Monsterdom.
Best dumplings in Monster Dome.
Though, I think the shrimp ones are a little dry.
Daifu Ling. You know him?
Oh yeah, I know Daifu. Everybody knows Daifu. Comes in every other Wednesday. Missed one of those days 3 months ago, but other than that, he's like clockwork. Orders the stinky tofu, which clearly makes him one of my favorite tables, and a side order of gravy. We don't even serve gravy! Tian just gives him a bowl of brown sauce, but he either never notices, doesn't know what gravy's actually called, or chooses not to say anything.
Do you think he'd lie to me?
The worst thing that man has ever done is steal our menus. I mean, don't get me wrong, he steals a lot of menus, but he's a teddy bear.
And you're sure that girl doesn't work at the docks?
I didn't say that. I don't know who's on and off the books. I've just met everybody that works there, and I've never met her.
Any Yakuza ever come in?
In Chinatown? Little too early to start drinking. don't you think?
Doris didn't have any reason to lie to me. No skin in the game. Yet, like a Chinese language professor, part of my job was studying characters. Dai Fu Ling wasn't the type of character that was nefarious, not as far as I could see. I agreed. He was a teddy bear. Not the kind I'd like to snuggle with, but a teddy nonetheless. He had recognized the girl, but didn't know why she had been brought to the docks, meaning she never worked there. Sure, she might have been hired to, but if she didn't show up to clock in, what had she been doing with her time?
You like dumplings? Best dumplings in Monsterdom?
I have had many dumplings that were better.
Oh, these not good for you? You don't like these? I make you better dumplings. Best dumplings. Really juicy dumplings. Pally, just you wait and see.
Ilis had inhaled the dumplings like a hoover. It seemed our maitre d' didn't quite understand the nature of her particular quirk. Actually, Tien, she reached out a hand to stop me. Maybe because she wanted to make close, but more than likely because she didn't care if he had misunderstood her, as long as it meant more dumplings. I had questions about Jian. Questions about who she was and where she was, and what she did while she was there. Who brought her here? Why? And what did they have to gain from it? What Ilis had said about the hiring offices at Panlong didn't really sit with me. For some reason, I trusted what the Yakuza had said. I would have to talk to this lady myself and get to the bottom of it all. But there had been 2 other leads I needed to chase down first, stops that I had been putting off. One was the Pearl of the East. I knew the management there better than I wanted, and let's just say I decided to procrastinate on that one a little longer. The second was the Jiangshi, the Chinese vampire clan, rivals of Fu Manchu. I knew the farm girl was connected in some way to Sifan Corporation, and therefore connected to Fu Manchu. And if I knew that, maybe an enemy of Sifan and the good doctor would know that as well. Maybe there was something special about this girl that I hadn't seen yet. Maybe they could shed some light on that. Deep in the basement of an empty building in the heart of Chinatown, less than a block from where the girl was found, the elders of the clan, tribe, family, kingdom, however you wanted to refer to them, that's where they held court. I pulled up to the building, and I was led inside, down flights of dark stairs, and into a big, black room. So black, you couldn't tell the difference between the walls and the ceilings. In the middle of this room was a giant black table. A score of the thin, gray-skinned, long-haired soul-suckers sat around that jet-black slab. At the head of the table, their king. A hat with an inscribed scroll hanging from it obfuscated part of his face, like a pretty girl with bangs in her eyes. At his side sat his son, the Night Prince. A similarly inscribed scroll tacked to his chest, part of their custom for marking their royalty. I had left Little Miss Storyteller in the car. The Jiangshi were all about traditional, and the way she wore her dresses broke all their rules. Didn't aim to cause a fuss with the Jiangshi right off the bat, so I figured I'd do this interview solo.
杜眼龙警察在这里。
我们可以刺他吗？还没。
Shanzai Wang, Victor Caine from the MNYPD. I have a few questions I'd like to ask you.
You will refer to him as Majesty.
Will I?
What questions do you have, Detective?
Questions about your good friend, Dr. Fu Manchu.
This man is a dog. It is an insult to say his name in my father's presence. 儿子。
The old man was the master of the pups in the kennel. Even the slightest hint of disappointment put all the others on edge. I had the sense that his son, the young prince, could get away with a little more than the rest, but still, being in a room full of on-edge Chinese vampires isn't the most comfortable of places to be.
What would you like to know about the insidious Dr. Fu Manchu?
How about you break down that introduction of him for me? Give me the annotated version.
He is a deceitful man, tempting our people to stray from the path that has brought them enlightenment for centuries. He is corrupt. He is manipulative. A lying wolf with a wardrobe of sheep claws.
他妈的！
The prince slammed his hand against the table, and in an uninterrupted flow of events walked past me to leave the room. I don't think vampires can shed tears. I've always heard the rumor, and never seen a male vampire do it. And of the few vampire women I've known, we never had emotional relationships. I wouldn't say that Yuongzi was crying, but he looked like he wanted to. Not tears of sadness, but utter frustration.
You will have to forgive my son. At the time, he and Manchu worked together on a few business dealings, shall we say. The doctor's betrayal is one that strikes him personally.
Things with you and Manchu weren't always...
I did not say that, Detective. Contentious has long been a description of our views for one another. Yet even a rodent understands that making peace with the serpent might ensure the safety of his burrow for a while longer.
It sounds like you feared a war with Manchu.
The Jiangshi fear nothing.
You have an army, an entire species following your every order.
Are corporations not armies? A business not a beast of its own? Employees not subjects?
You'll have to help me here. I'm attempting to understand both perspectives, where you stand and what you're saying. You hate him because he's a corrupt businessman? Because he believes in wearing suits?
A spider is a deceitful creature. It lures the fly into its web by saying, "Oh, but I am an insect as well." Manchu's idea of advancement is an abandonment of our traditions. Abandoned traditions kill the culture. We oppose him, for he opposes our existence.
And you oppose him so intently that you would kill.
Watch your tongue.
我可以切他的舌头。
I don't have time to watch my tongue or translate what the hell he just said, because there's a dead girl they found a block north of here last night. And I've been playing nice with the softball questions, but now it's time to see if you can take it home. I'm thinking you had something to do with all of this. What are you going to say to convince me otherwise?
We are quiet people, Detective Caine. We want only to live in peace, in the dark, wrapped tightly in our comforting traditions. We have no interest in the petty dramas of your world.
And yet I'm standing here, not really believing you.
You are merely standing there because I allow it.
I was leaning against the table now, in the midst of all of them, and I swear I could hear their stomachs growling. You don't want to threaten me.
Perhaps I did not speak clearly enough. Perhaps my English is not as good as I thought. There was no intention of threat, merely an attempt to provide insight. You see, Detective, you are not an important man. I do not waste my time threatening unimportant men. Up there in the world, you have a badge that you believe grants you some kind of authority. You walk the streets without fear, feeling superior to the churning hordes of flesh around you, secure in your station and your above-average intelligence. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. But this is my kingdom. Here you are nothing. You mean nothing. You only breathe my air because I say you can. You sit at my table because I say you can. You will walk out of here alive because I say you can. When wielding power in an absolute form, why would I waste it on something or someone unimportant? Was this girl important?
Everybody's important to someone.
Goodbye, Detective.
I didn't say this was over.
I did. You have your answers.
Answers that I'm not satisfied with. I think you're lying to me. Want me to leave? Make me. There's a derogatory term for the Chinese vampires. People call them hoppers. And within a fraction of a second, they showed me why. They spread like locusts in all directions and all at the same time, clinging to walls and ceiling and floor. They were poised and ready for the attack, except their king. He sat there at the table, staring down the barrel of my already pulled side piece.
Peachwood handle. You ate vinegar. You are a brave and well-prepared little man, but a little man nonetheless.
At least I'm an honest one.
How many silver bullets do you have in your gun, detective?
Enough.
I am an old vampire. It would take a lot of silver to suppress me.
Lucky for me. A lot is precisely how much I carry.
让他活.
He called the hounds off. Everything went back to a semblance of normal, but like running into an old flame, you never forget what happened before.
You are committed, detective. This is a trait respected within our culture.
I didn't come here for respect. I came here for answers. Did you kill the girl? I'm going to walk out of here. But as I do, I want you to know where you stand. At the top of a heap of suspects. You're king of that mountain, too. I'll be back. And if the facts lead me there, I'll be back with handcuffs and enough silver to make even you greyhoppers blush. Your Majesty. My mind wasn't put at ease. In fact, it was more troubled than a stomach full of street meat on a Coney Island coaster, bubbling up with all sorts of questions, but most of them leading me back to the Jiangshi. The Yakuza story wasn't adding up, but the math of the Jiangshi made sense. Rivals, enemies, opposing worldviews, and a farm girl, all stuck in the middle. Innocent people are likely to pronounce their innocence. Hell, guilty people do it half the time too. But the Vampire King was as silent as the grave he crawled out of. And I had the sense his secrets ran just as deep. Coming up to the surface level, I wanted to run the ideas by my expressionless partner. But instead, I found the car door open. No one inside. I looked around for a moment when the smell of smoke caught my attention. A block away, right by the Pearl, there she was, in the middle of the street, fixated on something. I could see the fire kissing at her ankles. If she had a face, it would have been lit up like Christmas. But as I got closer, I could see the present she had for me. The face of a demon, the Oni, drawn in fire on the pavement.
This surely is a good sign.
It's a sign, all right. Sign that war's coming to Chinatown.
Come back next week and unravel the thread of mystery with everyone's favorite hard-boiled boy in blue.
Crime may like to hide in the shadows, but it can never really hide from the Eye.
The Eye in Big Trouble in Little Chinatown is brought to you by Bean Dip Productions and the Neighborhood Studio. The Eye is recorded at the Neighborhood Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. That's a rocket.